Okay, let's kick off this explainer with a pretty wild paradox that totally defines the music industry as we head into 2026. When it comes to audio recording, literally everything has changed, and yet somehow nothing has changed. We're standing at this incredible crossroads where the raw human emotion of a great song is exactly the same as it was back in the 1970s. But the tools we use, the physical spaces we record in, and the very nature of who, or honestly what, is helping us create that music, that has undergone an absolute revolution. So here is our roadmap for today. We'll be looking at the massive shift from traditional to home studios, the rise of the new hybrid era, the AI revolution in sound, what's next for mixing and mastering, and most importantly, the exact skills you're going to need to survive and thrive in this new landscape.
All right, let's dive into part one, home versus traditional studio.
Think about the sheer financial contrast we're dealing with today. The gap between a $3,000 home setup and a commercial space costing well over 100 grand has never been smaller, at least when you look at the actual sonic output quality. Thanks to these insanely compact, high-end audio interfaces and software that literally calibrates your room for you, the barrier to entry has completely collapsed. But that being said, perfect acoustics and high-end spatial audio capabilities still heavily favor the traditional spaces. And because of this massive democratization of tech, we're seeing that 75% of independent artists are now relying entirely on their home setups. So what on earth happens to the massive, legendary traditional studios? Well, they're pivoting hard. Instead of just renting out gear by the hour, these high-end rooms are shifting to exclusive membership models. We're talking limitless access, perfectly treated acoustic environments, and get this, even wellness amenities like saunas and ice baths just to foster long-term creativity. They aren't just selling gear anymore, they're selling an experience and a vibe that a bedroom simply cannot replicate. Which brings us nicely to part two, the hybrid studio era. This physical and economic divide has birthed what industry experts are calling the hybrid workflow. It works like this. A producer will go track the really acoustically demanding foundational elements, say a live drum kit, a grand piano, or a big orchestral section, in a massive professional studio. They'll also book those pro rooms to mix in complex spatial audio or Dolby Atmos because you absolutely need a heavily treated 3D environment for that. But the rest of it, the bulk of the actual production, the vocal editing, the arrangement, that's all happening right back at the home studio, usually in sweatpants.
Okay, let's move on to part three, the AI revolution in sound.
So what is the superglue that connects the home studio and the pro studio today? Without a doubt, it's the explosive integration of artificial intelligence. We really have to reframe how we think about AI in audio. It is no longer just some static plugin that slaps a bit of reverb on a track. It has fully evolved into a co-editor. We're talking about intelligent, agentic workflows that actually understand the musical context of your project. These systems can execute text-based audio editing, instantly draft arrangements, and even perform generative composition. It's basically like having a robotic assistant sitting right next to you at the mixing desk. A mind-blowing example of this in action is stem separation. For decades, the rule was that a final stereo mix was just like a baked cake, right? You couldn't unbake it to get the flour and the eggs back out. But today, AI can take a final, flattened vintage audio file and cleanly isolate just the lead vocal or just the bass line. It literally unbakes the audio cake in seconds. This allows producers to remix, sample, and restore historical recordings in ways that were frankly considered pure science fiction just 5 years ago.
Let's jump to part four, the future of mixing and mastering.
This area is where the algorithms are doing some of their heaviest lifting. Get a load of this number. The AI mastering market is projected to grow from $1.8 billion in 2025 to an absolute staggering $7.4 billion by 2034. That is massive, widespread industry adoption. Mastering used to be this dark art that required decades of ear training and hundreds of thousands of dollars in analog outboard gear. Now, machine learning models that have been trained on millions of commercial hit songs can analyze your track and perfectly balance its frequencies and loudness in, honestly, a matter of seconds. In fact, nearly 4 in 5 creators, about 79%, already rely on machine learning for those tedious, repetitive tasks. Things like noise reduction, removing a weird room echo, or fixing subtle distortions. By handing all these super time-consuming surgical tasks over to AI, engineers are freeing up hours of their day. And what do they do with that time? They focus on what actually matters, the overarching creative vision and the emotional impact of the song. Finally, let's wrap up with part 5, required skills for the future. This brings up the elephant in the room.
If algorithms can clean your audio, align your drums perfectly, and instantly master your tracks to industry standards, what exactly is your unique value in the room? First, we have to make peace with what's fading away. Skills that used to prove an engineer's meticulous, godlike craft, like agonizing over basic pitch correction or spending 3 hours visually aligning drum hits on a grid, are now routinely delegated to a computer. If your only value as a producer is your ability to execute basic technical cleanup, well, the data shows you're probably going to be replaced by a software update. So to future-proof yourself, you absolutely must shift your focus toward deeply human-centric abilities. Number one is critical listening. Your ear has to be trained to know exactly when the AI made a mistake, or when it accidentally sterilized the soul right out of a track. You'll need a deep mastery of music theory and composition so you can actually guide these generative tools effectively. You need to learn AI prompt engineering, and above all else, you need empathy, psychology, and project management skills to actually direct human talent and emotion in the studio. But hey, the evolution doesn't stop at soft skills. This totally blew my mind. Nearly a third of modern music producers are now actively learning coding, like Python scripting and data analytics. Why? Because they want to develop their own automation scripts, analyze market trends on streaming platforms, and even train their own bespoke custom AI sound models. The modern producer is rapidly mutating into part artist, part data scientist. This technological shift is even creating entirely new job titles within audio post-production. Right now, we're seeing a massive demand for the musical prompt engineer, someone who bridges artistic vision with deep technical knowledge to coax the exact right genre, chord progression, and emotion out of a generative model. We're also seeing the rise of the AI ethics officer, someone tasked with navigating the incredibly messy legal waters of voice cloning, copyright infringement, and preventing deepfakes. But amidst all this talk of algorithms, Python coding, and spatial audio, we can never forget the absolute core of the music business. As one seasoned engineer noted during the research for this explainer, true production depends on inspiring artists, managing their insecurities, and guiding their creative energy. You simply can't automate trust. You can't program a vibe. An algorithm cannot look a singer in the eye and tell them to do one more take because it knows they have a little more heartbreak left to give. The future of the studio, whether that's a $100,000 Atmos room or just a laptop on your bed, is going to be a seamless hybrid of human insight and machine capability. So I'm going to leave you with this thought to chew on. As the technology completely takes over the pursuit of technical perfection, how will you adapt your workflow, deepen your musical knowledge, and evolve your own humanity to ensure that you are the one driving the AI and not the other way around?